Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Cozy Cottage ASMR. Today we are going to be playing the Powerwash Simulator, but specifically for the Shrek DLC. Now, I'm not going to be able to complete a full level of one of these because they are very messy, but I did the first couple levels of the Shrek DLC, which included the Shrek Swamp, as well as Shrek and Fiona's honeymoon um, place. So today I figured we would do the third level, which is the Fairy Godmother's potion factory. And this is supposedly have taken place after Shrek, Donkey, and Puss in Boots tried to steal the happily ever after potion from the fairy godmother in the second movie, which I find to be the best movie out of all of them. Um, so, Power Wash Simulator, if you don't know, is essentially what it says on the tin. It's a simulator in which you power wash things. The career button that you see on your left is you start off doing normal jobs such as power washing a van, power washing houses, power washing all these other different stuff. However, they release different DLCs in which you can power wash some of your favorite things like Back to the Future, SpongeBob SquarePants. So today we're going to be doing Shrek. Now you can do free play, but I have been doing the career, and like I said, we are going to be doing the Fairy Godmother's Potion Factory, which I have completed 1% on, but that doesn't matter. It's nothing. So I figured we would start off with this level, and again, we didn't end up finishing the whole thing because this is you'll see it's extremely dirty. So I'm sorry that we didn't finish the whole thing, but you'll soon see why. Um, I'm also recording this after I originally recorded it because I forgot to, well, I didn't forget. I thought I was um, recording my voice, but I wasn't. So we are here now. So, anyway, this is what our mess looks like currently. As you can see, there's a lot of mess happening. So this game is, yeah, like I said, just basically spraying water at issues until they get all clean again. And this is a good game for when you are not wanting to put a lot of brain effort into a game. Like you just want to sit back and um, make something satisfying happen out of what you're doing. And this is exactly that type of game. And I thought while we were doing this, we could just sit back and yap with each other, letting you know what's been going on with me and what's been happening with me, and just trying to get all nice and cozy on this very chilly November evening. Um, so, yeah, that's what we'll be doing today. And anyway, so I thought that I would give you some updates about what's been going on with me. As you may or may not know, um, I live in the United States, so I'm experiencing winter weather right now. However, I live in a state where we very rarely get any kind of like significant winter weather. Our summers are generally horrible, really, really hot, um, but our winters generally are most people's favorite season because you have Christmas and you have all these great things that come with that. In addition, we get some rare snowy weather and some rare kind of really cold weather. And we just eat that up because we don't that's what we love. So generally speaking, everyone who lives near me loves winter. I'm more of a fall person than a winter person, but I will say, so again, in this part of the country, we use something called swamp coolers to cool our houses down in the summer. And they only really work if you live in a dry, arid desert area. They don't work if you have a lot of rain or anything, which is perfect for where I live because we don't get a lot of precipitation. But the thing about swamp coolers is when it gets really cold out, you have to switch from the swamp cooler to a heater. So that requires an HVAC professional. I mean, I guess you could do it yourself if you know how to do it, but that requires an HVAC professional to come out to your house and switch from cooling to heating around the time when things start getting a little chillier, which is normally fine. However, around this time of year, when things start to get to the point where you absolutely need a heater, these HVAC professionals book so far in advance. So you have to be kind of strategic about when you call and make sure, you call a little bit of ahead of time so that you have heating for your house. Well, I made the mistake of not calling and until pretty late in the season. Like I didn't call until 2 Mondays ago. And by that point, they were very, very booked up. So I couldn't get my heater turned on until this Monday. So this most recent Monday. Meaning for the first like half of November, I didn't have heat, which even if you live in the most dry, arid, hot places in the United States, you're still going to be cold because, even in the desert, Novembers are cold. So that was mistake number 1. So I didn't have heat. Mistake number 2 is that I did not look at the weather prior to making the call, and didn't realize that we were set to get a huge, and I'm talking huge, snowstorm. A historic, almost, snowstorm that came for where I live. And as much as I love snow, without heat, it is miserable. Um, so that happened. So we got hit with a huge snowstorm that lasted several days, and in that several days, we our power went out. So while we didn't have heat, we had power to power like portable heaters and heating pads and like things like that. I mean, and if it got too cold, we could turn on a movie or watch a show to help like distract us from being so cold. Well, we didn't have that option anymore because we no longer had power for like 3 whole days. So not only did we not have heat, we had no power. So I felt like I was living in the middle of the apocalypse because I was sitting in my house with no heat, no power, and essentially freezing to death. The other thing is I couldn't work. I couldn't, edit videos. I couldn't, do my real job because, and if I had to go to a meeting, I went to it on my phone because that's the only way that I could log into my meetings. But I couldn't do anything substantial at my work. I just went to meetings, and all because of this like crazy power outage. And I learned something that like we normally don't get. Let me preface it. We don't get snowstorms in November. That's not how my state operates. We generally get snow December, and most often it's not until like January, February that we get the hard snowstorms. But we don't get them in November. So this was totally just out of the blue kind of weird weather, right? So no one was prepared for it. So most of my city didn't have power because what happens is when you get a snowstorm and the leaves haven't fallen yet, the snow gets stuck on the leaves and then breaks limbs off of trees because they can't handle that much snow because the leaves kind of make it stick to the tree. I don't know. Anyway, so leaves were or trees were falling on power lines and creating these massive power outages throughout the city. And unfortunately, where I lived in a kind of like smaller area of where power outages were, which is should be a good thing, but it turned out to be a really bad thing because on the west side of my city, there were these huge power outages impacting very large chunks, so they were trying to fix that first before they got to these little power outages. And since I was living in a little power outage, it took them 3 full days to get to the point where they could get my power back on after taking care of like this huge power outage that was happening on the west side of my city. So essentially, I was useless for 3 whole days. And that was frustrating. Um, and I know you're thinking, Mary, you could have gone to a friend's house or like a cafe or something. And I thought about that. I did. But like, first of all, my parents, they live um, kind of in the mountains of where I live, so they were snowed in. And when I mean snowed in, I mean they like literally couldn't leave their front there. So it would make no sense for me to go up there because I couldn't even get to them if I tried. Like I would have to shovel snow to get to them. Like it was that deep of snow. So I that was not gonna happen. I was not gonna go to my parents' house. Um, so I guess I could have gone to my friend's house, but they were having like additional guests. Like my one of my best friends had her father-in-law staying over and all this stuff, so I didn't want to be like an extra guest. Anyway, I could have, she would have let me, but I just felt like I would be in the way. So yes, I did go to like Starbucks, the Starbucks near my house, and did some work there. But again, I feel like you can't like loiter around cafes for too long. I mean, I guess you could. I just started feeling really weird when I finished my coffee. And I can only drink like one coffee without feeling like really anxious, so I didn't want to get another one. And any other like uh kind of drink Starbucks makes is like too sugary for me anyway, so that wasn't going to work. So I just sort of stayed there for, like an hour or two, and then I could have switched to a different cafe or ordered or went to get food or something, but I just ended up going back home. Anyway, long story short, most of the time I was home, and I also felt bad because I think I told you, but I have a cat, so I felt bad for leaving my cat at home when my cat was really cold, and the only thing I felt like was helping her with the cold was when I was home and we would just cuddle. So we were literally like cuddling for 3 days straight. So we actually, after all this happened, we went out and got my cat like a heated pet bed, in case this happens in the future. I mean, we couldn't have used it whenever we didn't have power, but especially when we didn't have heat, it was just really nice for her. So she's a spoiled cat now. She has a heated cat bed and she loves it so much. She sits in it more often than not. So I think she got a good deal out of this whole situation. So that was nice. Anyway, long story short, um, that was a big chunk of what happened to me this last week, which was crazy. So, but I'm glad it's over, and we are going to be nice and toasty for the rest of the season. And my heater works great now. I got it all set up, and the guy who came and like did it for us was such a sweet, like, uh, he was a very small, Latino man who came by, and he was honestly he it was my favorite interaction that I've had with another human being in a while, because it was like just this guy who was just like, so he was like, I'm so sorry that we couldn't come sooner and like all this stuff. And he was like, you must have been freezing and like all this stuff. And he was just like the sweetest guy in the whole world. And I don't know, it was very sweet because he was trying to like turn off my water, so he had to get into my water heater, and he did this. Hold on, yeah. So he needed to get like a stool to get. I don't know. It was a very sweet interaction, but he like was he came over to my house on Veterans Day and he was like, "Oh, are you a veteran?" And I don't know. It was just a very sweet interaction. I don't know how to explain it, but he was just like, he made me feel very comfortable. And I'm very glad that he was the one that came and did my, transferred over my heat. It was just a very lovely interaction. And I feel like lately human interactions have been so charged, but like it wasn't charged with him. It was just like a nice person came over and switched over my heating, and he made sure to check, make sure my carbon monoxide wasn't happening, and he made sure that like there was no carbon dioxide when he turned on my heater, or the heater's working, and like he just stayed around for a little while just to make sure that he did his job well, and I just really appreciated that. And yeah, so I was really touched by his generosity and his sort of willingness to go the extra mile and just chat with me while he was here. Anyway, so that was great. Um, and I love human interactions like that because it just makes you feel like, oh, this world right now is so charged and it's hard. It's you sort of lose this like sense of community, but then you run into someone like that where it's I don't know, like it's not charged. It's just a lovely human interaction where you're both just looking out for each other and getting to know each other and just having a nice conversation. And I just think that's needed right now. Um, anyway, so that was good. But it sucked that it didn't happen until late this year. But yeah, like I said, at least the rest of the year we will be nice and cozy, and I look forward to future snows that we get. Um, because I generally speaking do love snow, and I'm excited to go out and play in it. But that was not good for this time of year. I was kind of during this point in the video, I was kind of struggling with the controls because I somehow turned on like a weird thing. I may cut this out. I don't know, but yeah. So that's why I'm going over the controls a little bit because I don't know what I pressed. Okay. But yeah, so that was nice. So that was the fun stuff that went on here this last week. What else happened? I mean, the election happened, but I don't super want to talk about it too much because I want this to be like a safe space. But I also want to touch on it by saying if this is a hard time for you, or a celebratory time for you, I wish you all the best. And just know that, again, this is a safe space for anybody, regardless of political affiliation. Um, but I also want to say that I do not welcome any political comments, or I will not be sharing my political affiliation, and I would urge you to not share your political affiliation on a kind of relaxing channel because it just gets really, no matter what I say, people are gonna be upset about it. I mean, even this, someone's probably gonna be upset that I'm not allowing political talk on my channel, but whatever. This is I'm trying my best. Okay. I don't know how to handle this, and I don't know. A lot of people are feeling particularly bitter and yeah, I just don't want those types of feelings to be associated with this because it should be a relaxing time. So just wanted to point that out. But moving on, um, what else did I want to talk about it? Oh, right. So the other thing I want to tell you is that my dad came over on Tuesday, maybe? I can't remember. But he, generally speaking, we're at the age of where my dad, every time he comes over and hangs out with me, he always brings a bunch of my like stuff that he has in his garage from when I was a kid. Um, Mostly because I think he just feels like he has too much of my stuff and he's like slowly trying to like get rid of it all, but he doesn't know what to throw away, so he's just like slowly offing all of that stuff to me. Um, and he like saved some of the weirdest stuff for when I was a kid. One of the things that he saved that he came over and gave me was this like I was a weird kid, and I'm going to preface by saying I know that this is weird, but uh, like I don't know what this was about. Who knows? But I loved boxes as a kid. I feel like sometimes I'm like part cat or something, but I loved boxes. And so whenever I got something that came in like a fun box, I would always keep the box. So I remember, I don't know why I got this. Maybe it was like from a Scholastic book fair or something. But I got this like box of like penguin greeting cards that just had like pictures of penguins on them, but the box itself had like this great picture of a like couple penguins on it, and I saved that box for like ever. And for some reason, my dad saved it too because he thought this was like a really important thing for me. Like, truly don't know where I got the box, don't know why I love this box so much, but I did, and so I saved it. And so he brought over this box of penguins, and I knew it from the very start. I was like, oh my gosh, I loved this box when I was a kid. I'm so glad you saved it. Don't know why, don't know where I got this, don't know why it's so important to me, but it just gave me this weird sense of calm whenever I saw it, and I was like, thank you. So that was one of the things he brought over. But the thing that I really wanted to talk to you guys about was I got the best thing that I think he could have saved for me, and it was my old Game Boy Color. For you, those of you who are young, very young people, may not like have ever played a Game Boy Color. You probably heard of the Game Boy Color, but you've never maybe seen a Game Boy Color. I'm thinking that it came out, and I don't know for sure, but I think it came out around the year 2000. So I was in kindergarten then, so I was young. So this was about 24 years ago. Um, but my dad got me and my sister Game Boy Color. And Game Boy Color was revolutionary at that time because it was colorful. And it also had like weird motion controls for some of the games where like if you tilted the controller like the I had a game called Kirby Tilt and Tumble, which is the only game I still have for this, by the way. And it's all you do is like tilt the Game Boy. Like there's no controls to it. You just tilt the Game Boy and Kirby rolls different places. So we that's the only, and I'm thinking about going to like a vintage store and purchasing more games for it. But yeah, the surprise was it still works. I put new batteries in it, and I started playing Kirby Tilt and Tumble, and that's a hard game, by the way. I was stuck on level 2.2 for like multiple days at this point. I finally got past it, but it took me a while to get past this like certain point in the game. But I was just so elated to have this still work because it's so nostalgic. Um, so yeah, I put new, you know, batteries in it, and it works. And I was so excited about this that yeah, I've just been obsessed with it. So I'm thinking about potentially, and like, let me know if this is a bad idea. Um, but I have no way to like plug it into my computer and make it look better than what it originally looks like. But I was thinking about maybe videotaping the screen with my phone with my phone, and potentially after I couldn't do it with Kirby, but if I had like a like Castlevania, or even Pokemon, like I think red or blue or even yellow, if I could find that for the Game Boy Color, I could potentially like uh I could potentially uh videotape it uh for an episode and see how that does. Because I do think that like people find relaxation and nostalgia in these kinds of games, and I think that that would make me feel relaxed. So, but it would be kind of poorly made because it would just be me videotaping uh, my Game Boy Color. And if you know anything about Game Boy Color, is that they actually sold like lights for it because the Game Boy itself wasn't backlit. So it was always really hard to see. So you kind of had to like squint to look at it. So I don't know. Anyway, let me know if you have any thoughts about that, or if you can think of a way to videotape it to make it look better. I'll probably have to do some research prior to making that video, but I just think that that would be lovely, um, because I just think that that would be something that I would really like, and I think that y'all would really like it too. What else? Um, I haven't really talked about this game since we've started, so I guess I'll start talking about it some more. Um, I was obsessed with Shrek 2 when I was a kid. I had the DVD for it when I was younger. I don't know what it was about my family, but my family loved Shrek. When you know, when we still had CDs back in the day, my mom had like very particular albums for certain activities she would do. For example, if she was baking or making any kind of meal, she would always put Celtic music on. Specifically, if it was cooking for like a big holiday. So if it was Christmas, she would put on Celtic Christmas music, and if it was Thanksgiving, she would put on like just like Celtic, like just general Celtic music. But if my mom was cleaning, she would put on the first Shrek soundtrack. So we're talking about Hallelujah, and that song that's like, I would walk 500 miles and I, that song, right? So every time I hear those songs or any songs from Shrek, I immediately feel it cleaning. Because I don't know why she would just assign certain albums to certain tasks. And I feel like it's a good way to like kind of make sure your brain gets in certain headspaces when you're doing certain activities. So I've kind of done the same thing, not with the same, but still, like I said, if I ever hear the Shrek soundtrack, I feel like I need to be cleaning. So it's a good way to kind of like train your children. I don't know. So if you want your children to clean, assign certain songs to that, or like albums to the cleaning session, so that when that starts, they're like immediately like, oh, it's cleaning time. It worked for me and my sister. We still talk about that to this day, about like how anytime we watch Shrek or like hear the Shrek soundtrack, we just immediately start cleaning. And I still feel the need to like sometimes put on Celtic music. Not that I particularly like Celtic music, but I still like whenever I want to cook, I feel like that's the perfect soundtrack to cooking. And it makes the kitchen feel more cozy and homey when you have Celtic music go on in the background. So anyway, But when I was a little bit older, they came out with Shrek 2, and yeah, we got it on the DVD, and I loved it, not because of the movie. I love the fairy godmother, by the way. I think she's my favorite villain of all time, and forever will uh, always, when I hear the song I Need a Hero, I will always think of it in her voice specifically, like that scene where she's singing I Need a Hero. It just triggers that in my brain automatically. So that's my like one of my favorite scenes of all time. But also, for those of you who had DVDs back in the day and that sort of thing, um, there was a bonus DVD game because DVDs used to come with like bonus features where they would have like commentary on the movie or like you I'm sure you guys have seen what DVDs have. I'm not 100% certain about that, but I'm sure that most of you know what DVDs look like and how they operate. But one of the things that Shrek 2 did, which I think is so funny, is they had a weird DVD bonus game in which um, they hired Simon Cowell and did like a Shrek 2, like all the characters from Shrek 2 in it, and they all sang and were judged by Simon Cowell, and it was up to you to pick the winner of American Idol. I think they called it Far Far Away Idol or something. And then if you picked wrong, Simon Cowell would like get up and start singing like that song that's like what is a man? I don't even know what the song is, but you know what I'm talking about, or maybe you don't. But it was the best thing in the whole world to me. I thought it was the funniest thing. So I would play that game over and over and over again because I just thought it was so fun. And I feel like I also had a little bit of a crush. I know, bad taste in men, but I had a little bit of a crush on Prince Charming. And he would always sing, uh, or the song that he would sing was "I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt." You know what I mean? And it was it's such a defining moment in my childhood, which is so silly. Like it is the silliest thing in the whole world that this is burned into my brain. This like man singing, and it's like I was a child and this man singing about how he's too sexy for his shirt and like anyway, funniest thing. I loved it so much, and so that was like one of my favorite movies. Not because of the actual movie. I watched that a couple of times, but the like Far Far Away Idol bonus game was like crack to my little preteen brain. Um, I think we did end up getting the third movie as well, but I don't think I've seen any of the other Shrek movies that came after that. I think I was a little too old at that point, or I just thought I was too cool, or in college. I don't know, but I can't remember when these things came out. But I think, yeah, so I saw the third one, and I just don't think the third one was as good as the second one, if I remember correctly. And so I think the series kind of went downhill after the second um, movie. The first one was great, obviously, because of Lord Farquaad. The second was great because of Prince Charming and the fairy godmother. I don't know what it is about Shrek, but they always do really charismatic and fun villains. Like you could almost give or take Fiona and Mike Myers or Shrek himself. Like Donkey, great. Puss in Boots, great. I don't care about Fiona and Shrek. I don't. And the thing is, which is wild, they work so great as like uh side characters, but like I don't know. I don't know if they work as great as like if they were main characters, right? Because they were meant as like kind of comedic relief. I know they made a Puss in Boots movie, and I've heard great things about it in regards to Puss having panic attacks. But because Puss and Donkey and these characters were so important to me when I was a child, and as someone who experiences panic attacks often, I do not want to watch one of my favorite cartoon characters that I had as a child experience panic attacks. I just don't. I have no interest in that. So while I know that it's really great to get rid of the stigma and everything, it's just not for me because I just think that would be triggering for me personally. Um, so anyway, that was that. And but I don't. I think I remember. Yeah, not seeing. Is it? I can't remember how many movies there are, but the most recent one I think I saw was the third one. But I have seen I think commercials for like one that looks like basically an angry troll doll or something that like I think reversed time or something. I don't remember. But yeah, it didn't look as good as the originals. And at that point, if you're at like movie 5, generally speaking, your second movie is when things start going downhill. Um but yeah, I think they tried to get as much money out of that franchise as they possibly could. So, and I don't blame them. It's a good series. I mean, I don't really know why it hits so well, but it does. And yeah. Plus, they got an all-star cast. I mean, could they have picked a better cast or better voice actors for? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Okay, so um, I'm a big Shrek fan, is really what you need to get out of all that yapping. Um, Speaking of like soundtracks, though, my dad, when we were like kind of like preteen, middle school age, he bought a like Bose sound system stereo thing, and he was so proud of it. And I remember it was so exciting for us to get this like Bose sound system thing. Um, Nowadays, it's like he still has it, which I think is so funny because it's like really out of date. But like it was this like it was essentially a boombox made by Bose, right? And all it had was like a radio and um, CD player. This is before really like iPods were even really a big thing. Like iPods were out, but they weren't like something you needed compatibility with on every stereo. You know what I mean? So we bought this Bose sound system and it sounded amazing. But I remember the CD that sounded the best on this like Bose sound system. And I remember just we would just sit in the kitchen and just listen to this soundtrack over and over and over again because we all thought that it sounded amazing was the Tarzan soundtrack with Phil Collins. So not only is the Shrek soundtrack burned into my brain, also the Tarzan soundtrack is burned into my brain, which I think are two of the better soundtracks to have burned into your brain, if I'm being completely honest. Um, but yeah, that's a great soundtrack. So I don't know. My parents definitely fueled my love for soundtracks, I think. I often find that soundtracks have some of the better music on them because I feel like when you listen to an artist's album all the way through, you get almost bored of their voice. But if you listen to a soundtrack, like soundtracks have different voices as well as like you can kind of picture like different scenes in your mind when you're listening to them. So I always find that like soundtracks are really fun to listen to. especially Disney soundtracks if they're done well. Like the other one that I really like, I think, is Brother Bear. That's a good soundtrack. I just think that that movie's just generally underrated in general. Um, Brother Bear is like one of, I think, one of my favorite. I don't know, is it Disney? I guess it's Disney. I can't decide if it's Disney or like Pixar or something weird. But yeah, Brother Bear is such an amazing movie. Um, and yeah, I feel like people don't give it the love it should get because it's all about like brotherhood and like facing up to past crimes and recognizing your bias and your potential like you recognize you viewed things wrong or that sort of thing and taking responsibility for it and just listen. That movie, I'm normally not a crier when it comes to movies. I generally speaking am not someone who cries when watching a movie or reading a book or anything like that. Like I cry in real life for real life things, but I generally am speaking not someone that gets like overly emotional when I watch a movie or read a book. But that movie got me in a way that I don't think another movie really has. Like it really touched me in a way that I don't think, and I feel like I have to go to therapy over this movie because it's like, why did this movie hit me so hard? Because at the end, when Kenai, the main character, gets to put his paw print on like a wall of hands, and it's like this, everyone's celebrating this big moment for him, and it's like such a transformational arc from like in the beginning where he hated all bears and like he didn't want his like spirit animal to be a bear and he really didn't want all these things and he was so full of hate and then he goes through this huge transformational journey and comes out the other side with like a found family and so lovely. Such a lovely movie. Um, if you haven't seen Brother Bear, I would recommend it to pretty much anyone. It's just a really great movie, and it's a yeah, it just gets me every time, and it's so silly because it's a kids movie, but um, I also think it's really important to me and special to me because um, I remember seeing it with my dad, and like he made it a point for this to be like a you know Mary and Dad time, and like he just really wanted just us to have a good day together, and I think those are like really important days to remember, and so I'm just really happy that I have that really great memory with my father with this movie. Um, so that's yeah. Anyway, it's just a great movie. And so yeah, I would definitely recommend that movie. Um, so Celtic, the other song that, or like thing that my dad would always listen to is he loved Meatloaf the band. So that's such like a dad rock kind of band. Like dads from like my age or like people who are my age, their dads loved Meatloaf, like dad rock kind of thing. Um, but I recently found out that apparently his favorite, uh, and I didn't know this, he never played this, and so I was so shocked when he said that his favorite singer of all time was Michael Jackson. I was like, you never played Michael Jackson. I thought I was going to be Meatloaf, but no, it was Michael Jackson. So, anyway, very silly, very weird. Um, but yeah, I think my mom, I was raised Methodist with, in case you didn't know, it's like Protestant essentially. Um, so it's a denomination of Christianity. So a lot of our songs when I was growing up was like uh, churchy kind of songs. So we listened to a lot of like church rock. Um, so that was kind of most of what my mom listened to um, when we were younger. So yeah, we listened to like, I don't know if you guys, and my boyfriend always makes fun of me for this because he was not raised Christian or anything, but we used to when we were kids we used to listen to a lot of, or watch and listen to a lot of Veggie Tales was the thing. And if you don't know what that is, it's okay, you don't need to. But essentially it was like a weird Christianity animated show where all the characters were vegetables. So the main characters was a tomato and a cucumber, right? Larry was a cucumber. Yeah, Larry the cucumber. Yeah, sorry. I was like, was he a pickle? No, he was a cucumber. But yeah, there was like little asparagus guys and carrots, and it was pretty ubiquitous. Like if you were raised in a Christian household, I feel like pretty much all kids at some point watched Veggie Tales because you know, on its own, it was actually a pretty funny show. Um, but like, yeah, it was definitely there was definitely, you know, very Christian undertones to it. I mean, I remember watching. I remember being really sick, and the only thing that I had to watch, I was staying with one of my mom's boyfriends at the time, and the only thing that he had was a VeggieTales like movie, um, and it was the movie where it was basically a rip off of Lord of the Rings, and I can't remember what it's called. But I just remember the orcs were sporks, and I thought it was the funniest thing. Um, like they were like utensils, um, and it was like really funny. But I can't remember what they were looking for. It wasn't a ring, was it? I can't remember. But yeah, so I watched a lot of VeggieTales in my day, which was so silly. Um, which I guess is the point. But it's just, it sounds like a fever dream when you say it out loud. It's like, oh yeah, when I was a kid, I watched vegetables sing about our, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Anyway, so that was a big part of my childhood as well. Was those songs, uh, and yeah, I think you know, when I was older, I went to college and I was in a sorority, and you know, I was in a sorority and we were all just chatting about, you know, our childhoods and stuff. You know, we were just like getting to know each other a little bit. And I remember, I think I said something about Veggie Tales, and like almost everyone in the room was like, oh yeah, I remember Veggie Tales. And then they started singing songs like from Veggie Tales, and I was like, this is great. But yeah, some of those girls are still my best friends to this day, and a lot of, you know, it's really funny to say that some of our first memories of knowing each other was us talking about VeggieTales. So interesting. It's weird how people make friends, right? Like, I don't know. It's a lot harder now that I'm an adult because everyone seems to have their own friends, and they're just happy with their own friends as they are right now. Um, but you know, like I also, it's hard for me because I'm generally speaking an introvert. So and like COVID definitely made it a lot harder for me to. I feel like I forgot how to like interact with people after COVID, and Like I'm getting better obviously because it's like not happening anymore, but I mean that's kind of false to say because people still are having COVID and getting really sick from it. But like it's not like we're not inside all the time is really what I mean. Like the quarantine is over essentially. So, but since then it's just been really hard for me to like make friends again. Like I just feel like I forget how these things happen. Like I don't know. Anyway, so but I also just think it's just hard to make friends as an adult just in general. Because everyone, like I said, has their like set group of friends or their set relationships or their raising children and, doing really important things in their lives that require a lot of focus. So I'm not mad about it. It's just harder to like connect with people. And I think it's really important as humans that we do connect with people, which is why I think like parasocial relationships are so intense lately. Which is why like people like Chapel Roan and like a lot of other people are coming out and saying we don't like this. Like, we don't like having people feel like they know who we are because you don't in all reality. But yeah, this game is really fun. Like I said, it's very like brain off, not a lot going on. It's essentially just spraying water at things. And there's like, I think I've been like switching to different extensions and that sort of thing. I'll do that, but there's like soaps and stuff you can use for different like materials. If there's like things that are really stuck on metal or wood or stone or something, um, there's certain soaps you can use, but I generally speaking don't use those because I often find them not as useful as I think they could be. Um, I think I stopped right here because my cat was making lots of noises. So this was, I think, something that I wanted to cut out. But that's okay. I didn't actually record my voice, so it's all good. So yeah, I mean, there's not a lot else going on. It's been a pretty quiet couple of weeks. Um, it's just been a lot of dealing with like the cold. Did you guys have a good Halloween? I forgot to ask. I don't think I've mentioned it in previous episodes, but I was so excited because last year I had my very first trick or treaters, and I think we got seven last year, and I was so excited. I was like maybe there'll be more this year, so I bought like a bunch of different candies and everything, and we had two. We had two whole trick or treaters, and one of them was like a full grown adult person. So honestly, fine. If you want to trick or treat when you're 27 years old, that's fine with me because at least you're a trick or treater. But I had someone who was dressed as Naruto and someone who was dressed as Perry the Platypus. And then my neighbor's kid dressed up as Lord Farquaad, speaking of Shrek. And it was the cutest costume of them all. I was so excited to see that little boy dressed as Lord Farquaad because he was the perfect Lord Farquaad because he was this little tiny boy and he got the wig and everything. It was so great. I was like, this is my favorite costume ever. And he was like, yeah, I know. What about it? Like the confidence of such a, like, the confidence of young men, like times infinity when they're like 8. They're like, yeah, I know I put together the best costume in the whole world. Of course I did. Look at me. I'm perfect. And you're like, okay. Okay, dude. Okay. The confidence oozing from this person. Kids crack me up. My friend sent me a video of her kid, and it was the funniest thing ever. her kid, they were standing outside in her yard, and the kid was like pointing at the moon. And my friend was like, "Yeah, that's the moon." And her kid is like 1.5, maybe, like very young kid. And she was like, "That's the moon." And my friend was like, "Yeah, it's the moon." And she was like, "Touch." Like she wanted to touch the moon. And it was just such a lovely, wholesome interaction. And it made my whole day about this little kid who all she wants to do is touch the moon. And I was like, she's gonna be an astronaut one day. Like, and my friend was like, yeah, she might actually be, because like she loves the stars, she loves the moon, she loves everything to do with, you know, the sky and everything. And so anyway, I'm convinced her daughter is gonna be a astronaut, and I think that's the cutest thing in the freaking world. How curious she is about the world, and she's all she wants to do is touch the moon. And like my friend was like, "Mommy can't even touch the moon. Daddy can't even touch the moon. It's too far away." And her daughter was just like, "I just want to touch the moon. What do you mean? What do you mean I can't touch the moon?" God, it's so cute. So cute. We are not, despite what people say, we are not doomed. We still have little girls who all they want to do in the world is touch the moon. And like, as long as we have curiosity and want for things, and wanting to do silly things like that, in my book, we're fine. We're okay. As long as little girls still want to think that they can and they potentially could one day touch the moon, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. I think. Anyway. But yeah, my favorite thing to do with my friends' kids is try to figure out what they're going to be when they grow up. So far, yeah, one of my friend's kids convinced she's going to be an astronaut, and the other one I'm convinced she's going to be like, I don't know, some sort of, like, she's the most charismatic kid in the whole world. Um, but she's also like really into food, so like part of me is like, she may be like a chef, or like, I don't know. I don't know what she's gonna be. She's a little bit harder to figure out. But yeah, it's just one of my favorite things to do for kids. It's just like try to figure, like, it just gives you such hope, because you're like, oh, she's gonna be an astronaut, or she's gonna be a the president of the United States, or like a world-renowned chef. It's just like it gives you hope in the world. And that's so much fun, like more fun to do than like being like, oh, she's gonna be a heartbreaker. Like, I could not care less about this little girl's romantic history. I want to know what she's gonna be doing with her, like what her passion's gonna be. Like, what does she hope and really care about? I don't care about who she's gonna date. I care about like who she's what she's gonna care about when she's my age, what she's gonna do with her life. And I think that's so much more useful and fun to do. Anyway, I'm just chatting now. I'm not saying anything of importance. This wheel was so hard to clean. I was like standing here forever, and I finally just like gave up, because I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. The other problem with this game is like I like turn down the mouse sensitivity pretty much as far down as it goes, because I tend to get a little bit nauseous when I play like a lot of games like this, because my eyes start like hurting, and then yeah, like I get a little bit like motion sick from it. So at this point, I think I was starting to get a little motion sick from playing, just because it's just a lot of just moving your field of view around a bunch. Um, so that's why I feel like I couldn't do like VR or anything, because I just feel like I would just get really motion sick, and I don't want to do that to myself. Um, I also, you know how like some people go through like stages of food? I've been really uh, loving heroes lately, so I've been eating just a ton of Greek food. So much Greek food, which I think it could be worse, but also just like so many heroes. Just eating so many heroes. Um, so that's been kind of what I've been doing a lot of eating lately. So I ate a hero for lunch and I had a little bite of baklava. I can't eat a ton of sweets, but because I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I tend to just like very much eat bites of sweets and stuff. But it was very good. Speaking of type 1 diabetes, it is Diabetes Awareness Month or International Diabetes Month or something like that. But anyway, give your diabetic friends or family the biggest hugs because they deserve it. It's a really tough disease, and anyway, they deserve all the recognition for all their hard work for staying alive as they possibly can because it's hard. It's a hard time. So anyway, that's just um, my little input there. I think there's another ASMR artist who is also type 1 diabetic, and his name is, or he's the ASMR nerd. He does a lot of like gameplay as well as like like keyboard sounds and keyboard reviews and stuff like that, like tech reviews. And I've been a fan of his for a really long time, and part of the reason why I think I stuck in his community for so long was he was also type 1 diabetic, and I just felt really, I don't know, it's just cool that we have that in common. But yeah, I watch a lot of his Twitch streams, which are lovely if you are on Twitch. And he's been an ASMR artist for 10 plus years. I don't know how long, but he is a veteran when it comes to ASMR. And he does not get as much recognition as he deserves, I think. But yeah, he does a lot of Skyrim and like Oblivion and Morrowind stuff, as well as I think Euro Truck Simulator, or yeah, Euro Truck Simulator, and like a bunch of different other games. So if you're into that, I think if you're into my stuff, you'll probably be into his stuff too. He's not as much into The Sims though. That's a me thing. But yeah, I think it doesn't matter what your gender is. Gamers can be anything. Anything. It could be a wolf in a trench coat, and you could be a gamer if you wanted to. But I think for a while when I was growing up, gamers were boys. And now I feel like that has definitely changed. It's not so much like a gender based thing anymore. In fact, I feel like a lot of games these days are mostly geared towards women, if I'm being, or maybe I'm just like, that's where my algorithm is putting me. But women like to spend money on cute things. So, yeah, that was so satisfying to see all those things get cleaned. It was like ding, ding, ding. You guys can't hear the the game audio, and I'm apologizing for that. But it's just like I said, I didn't get the chance to um, record the sound, unfortunately. But I think that's where I ended up leaving it. Um, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was just a bunch of me yapping. But yeah, let me know if you liked it. Maybe I'll continue doing this level, or we could do another level. Again, this is not a game that I feel like you really super need to pay attention to, so that's why it's probably a great ASMR game. So anyway, if you want to see more of it, or if you have other games that you are interested in me playing, please let me know. But other than that, I think I will see you guys very, very soon, and I will talk to you later. Bye!